Max Verstappen faces another grid penalty, but where will Red Bull take it? With 6 rounds of the 2024 F1 season to run, it is almost inevitable that Max Verstappen will incur a grid penalty for another power unit change. However, where will Red Bull take the hit? A second power unit penalty of the F1 season looms over Max Verstappen, but where will he and Red Bull bite the bullet? After the Dutchman lost an internal combustion engine, ICE, early in the season to electrical problems in Canada, Red Bull had to change to a fifth ICE in the back of his RB20 earlier than planned. That sacrifice was made at the Belgian Grand Prix, resulting in that 10-place grid penalty. Since then, 5 Grand Prix have been run. Completing the final 6 Grand Prix with the additional power unit is virtually out of the question. But what is the ideal moment to change engine, and thus incur another grid penalty? For reference, in F1, drivers and teams are restricted in how many power unit, engine, components can be used per season before grid penalties occur. For the ICE, TC, turbocharger, MHUG and MGUK, there is a penalty-free limit of 4. For the S, energy store, and CE, control electronics, there is a limit of 2. 7 exhausts may be used before a grid penalty follows. If you go over the component limit, thus extending your pool of parts, a 10-place grid penalty per changed item outside the allocation will be incurred. Once the pool limit is broken for that item, each individual change earns a 5-place grid drop. With 6 race weekends to go, including 3 sprint races, it is almost inevitable that Verstappen will have to further extend his pool of power unit components. But what is the ideal moment for this power unit change, given the associated penalties? Harsher penalty awaits Norris. Ideally, the penalty is taken at a circuit that allows for overtaking, in order to easily make up the lost grid positions during the race. The Circuit of the Americas is a good example, but in Verstappen and Red Bull's case, to change this weekend might be too early, as that power unit would still have to run 6 Grand Prix and 3 sprints, so essentially 7 full-length races. The Mexico City Grand Prix is also not likely due to the nature of the circuit, which does not necessarily offer many distinct overtaking opportunities, something that is also due to the high altitude and thin air. That makes DRS considerably less powerful, in turn making overtaking more difficult. Both COTA and Mexico are also places where Verstappen can, an RB20 upgrade pending, should do well. If that were different, it may have been more tempting for Red Bull to pull the trigger early.